Hi there, it's Jeff
And Cassandra.
from RV Parenting, and we usually put a lot of time and effort into planning our longer RV trips. But they still sometimes go awry, and we still sometimes change our mind midstream and decide to do something we hadn't planned on. However, proper planning ahead of time does help you to maximize your fun and minimize the hassles. And that's what we're getting into today in this video, how we do our trip planning from step A to step Z.
And sometimes we don't even give ourselves a lot of time to plan a trip. We bought an RV in September of 2020 and then took off for a month in October of 2020. But these steps that we took really made the trip exciting. It gave us flexibility, but it also gave us stability of knowing where we're going to go and where we're going to stay. And a lot of that's based off of where do you live, where are you wanting to go, and how much time do you have off during that. So for us, we're in Texas. It's easy for us to get to New Mexico, and then Colorado's just a skip and a hop away. And Florida is not that far either. I want to say it's the same amount of distance and time to get to either one of those. So we're centrally located in the United States, and that gives us a lot of options. However, if you only have 2 weeks off and you're on the West Coast, you might want to consider trips that just take you to Nevada or Arizona, or you can shoot up to Washington State, which is one of my favorite states I'm looking forward to visiting in the RV. Something else we think about is what's the weather and the climate where we're at. When we took our RV trip in October, initially we wanted to go to Yellowstone, but a lot of those parks were closed because of either snow, rain, just, inclement weather is unpredictable in that region. And so we ended up rerouting, and that's when we ended up going to Florida and Disney World.
I mean, literally our complete trip changed because originally we were going to go about 2 weeks earlier than we were actually able to go based on when we were able to pick up our RV. And by then, just some of the roads up to Yellowstone and back were closed due to they'd already had some snowfall, and a lot of the campgrounds were closing for the season.
Something else to think about is, are the campgrounds available year round? Are they going to be booked up in August and July? A lot of places are already filled. So it just really depends on the season, and is it going to be closed because of weather?
Our favorite campground is Rancheros de Santa Fe in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and I believe they're closed from November through, I want to say, through March every year. Obviously because of the weather, although some campgrounds up that way probably do stay open all year, but I know the owners there like to come back to their Texas home when the weather gets cold up there because it's not really that cold here.
See, it's Texas. You can't go wrong with Texas.
So that brings us to the next question, which of course is, how far in advance should you be booking your campsites for an upcoming trip? And as you know from what Cassandra just said, we booked our campgrounds in this past October. We booked them just a week or two ahead of time. And in some cases, we booked them on the road as we were driving there. However, we do have a trip coming up this summer, and I've already started booking some of those dates now. We're going up to Yellowstone and back, and some of those really super popular destinations require booking months in advance if you want to get a good spot. I couldn't actually find anything in Yellowstone proper, so they were already sold out. So we're actually going to stay at a campground just outside the park entrance for that trip. So the answer is, it depends on where you're going, how popular that destination is, and what time of year you're going there. Going to Yellowstone in July, unfortunately, is when half the country is probably going there. So that's why I started booking this over a month ago, just to make sure we were set.
And that's really just for popular locations. If you're looking for something off the beaten path, you're probably going to have better luck as long as it's not in the mountains and it's winter time. And that brings us to, how do you choose where to stay? So once Jeff and I have gone through the process of choosing the vacation we want to take, and he starts booking, I start helping with, like, what are we looking for campgrounds? Are we going to go for resorts? Are we going to do national and state park? And Jeff was looking into, for Yellowstone, we're doing a little bit of all of it just to accommodate our needs. We have an entire month. We're taking all of June to make this trip with our family. We're really looking forward to it. So campgrounds you want to do if you're going to be staying there for a few days. I like the resorts because they have pools, playgrounds, a little bit more for the teenagers and the toddler. But national and state parks, you can't beat. It's a lot cheaper. And who can deny, like, the trees, the mountains, the lakes, the beaches? Like, you get such a variety of being just in nature and removed from the hustle bustle, and especially being on the road 24/7.
And with Yellowstone, unfortunately, we won't be staying in the park. But Yellowstone's one of those places where it really would be ideal to stay in the park, just because it's such a massive park. And it's going to take us probably an hour to get from the center of the park to our campground. And I believe the campground is only like 4 miles outside the park boundaries. It's just so big. It's well worth trying to stay in the park at a place like that if you can.
Yeah, you want to give yourself a few days for something like that too. Like, this isn't a state park you go to for 2 to 3 days. You go for it's a destination. It's a journey and a destination. And we also think about amenities. How close are we to grocery stores? How close are we to a laundry facility? If the campgrounds we're staying at do not offer those. How close are we to fast food? Because sometimes mama doesn't want to cook, and that's just the way it is. So those are some other things that make us decide on where we're going to stay and in how long we're going to stay. For instance, I love Wally docking, which is boondocking in a Walmart parking lot. If we're just literally stopping because we've been on the road for 7 hours, need to sleep because the following day we're going to be where we want to be. So it really, are you staying for a week? Are you staying for three days? Or are you just doing it overnighter so you can keep on trekking?
So that brings us to how to book. And if you've seen any of our other videos, that my number one pet peeve are RV campground websites. Most of them look like they were built in the late 90s, shortly after Al Gore invented the internet. They're not particularly easy to use. You're gonna have to blow them up if you're looking at them on your phone. And they don't offer the capability to book campgrounds online. Of course, there are exceptions, and I'm picking on everybody here generally, but there are definitely exceptions to that rule. However, you should be prepared to make a lot of phone calls when you're booking these campgrounds. Luckily, she likes doing that. I don't.
And a lot of these places, sometimes they'll close at 5 p.m. So you need to make sure that you're calling in well before that time. Everybody's really accommodating and moving, but yes, a lot of the booking is relying on making those nice little phone calls. You get a quicker response. They can help you decide where you want to stay in the actual park. I don't mind the phone calls.
And right now, of course, as we just talked about, we're booking our trip next summer. And that requires, in some cases, making phone calls to campgrounds now, 6 months in advance. And as we also talked about, some of these places are closed right now for the season, which means you can't actually book. You can't get somebody on the phone and you can't book it online. So you have to actually wait and do that booking much closer to the time when you're going to be going. And in some cases, if you're trekking to a popular destination like Yellowstone, that can be really problematic.
But the good news is they have cancellation policies, and you usually don't have to pay too high of a deposit. If you're staying one night, you usually just pay for half of it, or if you're staying for an extended period of time, sometimes they don't even require a deposit at all. It just really depends on the campgrounds.
And we have had to cancel campgrounds before, and it's not a big deal. We've always gotten our money back.
But just like with any cancellation policy, you kind of want to respect the person's time and their money. They're trying to make money too. Mm-hmm. So as soon as you know you need to cancel, just cancel. My favorite part of planning trips is the activities. I love fun. Jeff is the adult in our marriage. I am the kid in our marriage, and I love this part. So once we've got all the booking, we know where we're going, this is where I jump in and I say, okay, what museums are we going to go to and what zoos are we going to go to? Because we have our annual passes for both of those, which get us into these programs that we're affiliated with, get you into different zoos across the United States and even in other countries, as well as science centers and children's museums. So use those passes. That's what they're there for. There's also things you have to consider if we're going to Colorado, looking up skiing and tubing, unless we're there in the summertime. That's where we're going to do the whitewater rafting, possibly do the hot springs. Even like the local parks in Colorado are amazing. So
I'm going to see you on a set of skis?
No, you're going to see me at the bottom with a hot toddy watching y'all on a set of skis. Playing with the toddler making snowmen. It's going to be great. But everybody's needs are met. And I think that's what I love about the activities is being able to find those jewels in the communities that we visit and experience them as an outsider and also be connected to the locals because, everybody's so different. Texans in our queso and in California's in their burritos and, the South and grits. You just, you want to get in there and know the people.
So I just heard you talk about a burrito filled with queso and grits.
I mean, dreams really can come true. I feel that anything is possible.
So once you've figured out what area you're going to, you've picked out the campgrounds, you've started booking them now in advance if that's necessary for the destination and the time of year. You've planned out the activities that you're going to do while you're there. I think it's important for us to bring up some of the crucial things you need to remember to bring with you. And so first and foremost, a surge protector. Not a lot of money. I think ours was just a little bit over $100. We have a whole video that shows you how to use it and why we think it's important. I'll link to that at the end of this video, and you'll see a card for it at the end as well. But also a tire compressor. It's another one I've done a review video on. The 450P RV, I believe is the name, by Viair, is a tire compressor for RVs, and it sure beats trying to get your RV into that gas station near the air pump. You're blocking everybody else, and that's even if that air pump goes up pressure-wise up high enough to fill up the tires in your RV. This thing is easy. I can lift it with one hand. I can store it in the RV. It's in our RV right now, and it'll blow up each tire, not blow up, it'll fill up each tire from 80 to 100 PSI in under 5 minutes. That's really super quick. Low hassles, well worth the investment. Oil for the generator is another good one to bring because you have to put oil in that thing periodically. I think when you first get an RV, you're supposed to put it in after just 8 hours. And then I want to say it's something like 100 hours after that. And if you're not sure how to do it, it's incredibly easy. We have a video on that too. I'll let Cassandra tell you about the lawn chairs that we have and the dog crates. If you're bringing dogs, having a crate that they can hang out in is important, but I'll kind of let her tell you about that a little bit.
So the dog crates are important because when we are...
If you have dogs.
If you don't have dogs, obviously you don't need dog crates or cat crates for that matter. We use our dog crates for when we're going to be doing day excursions. For instance, when we were at Disney World, our girls could stay in their crates for 7 hours, the same as they would if we were gone during the day and they needed to be in a safe place. Because they're terriers, they like to chew and they get really nervous when we're not around. So that you want to make sure you have that in the RV at all time. We don't even take hours out. And then we have a set of lawn chairs we also leave in the RV too. So a lot of things when you're going to be in the RV for an extended period of time or vacation, just have items you leave in there. We have our RV coffee cups and teacups, plates, utensils, bedding, towels. There's just things that live permanently in the RV.
We just got a cheap set of all of those things, or in some cases, we got nicer, newish stuff for the house, and we moved the old stuff to the RV. But it just saves you a lot of time and headache having to move all of that stuff back and forth every time you use your RV.
So yeah, there's just some things you just want to keep in there. But then I also give myself a week to plan and make sure everything is in the RV. And I do fail. There are things I forget, like my hairbrush, but that's beside the point. That's just a constant thing I'm battling with in life.
I hate it when I forget my hairbrush.
So give yourself that week, do a little bit every day, getting the RV packed. And if you want to, you can even structure it. Okay, today I packed the kitchen and the living room. And for us, the living room would be making sure that the kids have all their pillows and blankets packed up that they want to take with them because we have the sheets already. And that's going to be DVDs you want to bring, if they're going to bring games to play with, if I'm going to bring games that I want to play with. It's just kind of allowing yourself that full time to do a little bit so that the 2 days before your trip, you're not stressed out. You're actually looking forward to it.
DVDs. I feel so 2005.
I'm a millennial. I can hold on to these things.
Anyway, I hope this video helps explain our step-by-step process for how we pick our trips, how we plan them, how we book them, and how far in advance we do all of that. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. It really helps us in YouTube's eyes, and then they're going to show it to more people just like you, and it'll help the channel grow. And then smash that subscribe button and the bell notification button too. That way you stay connected. We're putting out at least 2 videos a week right now, and we know we're going to put out something that can help you in the future. But with that, we'll see you in the next video.